Breaking news! More than 50 North Korean tanks rolled in as if nothing, and within minutes they were reduced to fire and twisted metal. Subscribe if you think Ukraine did the right thing by blowing them to pieces, or comment if you believe it was madness that could ignite the entire region. Because make no mistake, we're not talking about just any clash, but the first time North Korea has directly sent its army into this conflict, loyal allies of Russia, or kamikazes who just unleashed a much bigger problem. The sound of tank tracks thundered against the ground. Above them, UAVs roared like a swarm of enraged bees. Just ahead, dozens of tanks and armored vehicles advanced straight into a killing ground. Completely unaware of what awaited them, the KN-23 Dove and T-90,000s thundered as they fired. But from the tree line, the Bohdanas unleashed their barrage, and the T-84 Oplots charged in to break the formation. Anti-tank mines detonated. Turrets flew into the air as fire and smoke engulfed the armored column within minutes. And that was just the first step of the plan. What happened next would annihilate an entire offensive thrust. 6:18 a.m., September 9, 2025. In the dry fields of eastern Ukraine, a thin layer of morning mist lingered after the short summer night. From the horizon came a low vibration, at first like the distant engine of a truck, but it soon grew into the deep rumble of tracked vehicles. Breaking over the horizon appeared a North Korean armored column. Dozens of T-90 tanks, armored personnel carriers, and logistics vehicles stretching nearly 4 kilometers. They advanced in tight formation, keeping standard spacing and steady speed. Above them, more than 30 suicide UAVs flew low and parallel with the convoy, ready to strike the command. Inside the command vehicles, internal communication channels buzzed non-stop. Officers reported movement progress, fuel status, and estimated time to reach Ukraine's first defensive line. The objective was to break through in less than an hour, clearing the way for follow-on forces. A few kilometers away, at a camouflaged high point, a Ukrainian recon team watched the entire column with infrared cameras. They logged every vehicle type, identified the formation, and transmitted the data to the forward command post. Nobody wasted words. The clock was ticking. Only minutes remained before the plan was triggered. North Korean soldiers sitting atop turrets, rifles in hand, had no idea that the road ahead was a death trap. For weeks, every meter of that terrain had been transformed into a place where advancing meant almost certain death. This offensive on August 29th was no ordinary attack. It was the first time since the war began that North Korea deployed a large-scale armored force directly in Ukraine. Intelligence from commercial satellites and Western reconnaissance aircraft confirmed the convoy had departed from a military base in eastern Donetsk, territory Russia had controlled since 2022. The Ukrainian General Staff estimated the attacking force at roughly 55 modernized T-90 tanks, 40 BTR and BMP armored carriers, more than 700 fully equipped soldiers, and over 30 short-range KN-23 suicide UAVs supported from the air, designed to strike fixed or mobile targets and destroy fortifications or radars. Other drones acted as scouts and artillery spotters for rear fire missions. The tactical objective was clear: break the Ukrainian defensive line west of the Kolmos River. Open a corridor for heavy artillery and tactical missile units to push toward key cities like Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. If successful, the strike would force Ukraine to shift troops from other fronts, giving Russia room to expand operations in multiple directions at once. North Korea did not hide its ambition to turn this battle into a show of force for its Russian ally and a direct message to the West. Intelligence had already tracked multiple covert shipments of artillery shells, anti-tank missiles, and UAVs from North Korea to Russia. But sending combat forces directly into Ukraine was a dangerous escalation. Ukraine's Eastern Operational Command had anticipated this move as early as July, when North Korean technical teams were spotted at Russian logistics bases in Donetsk and Luhansk. Early this morning, as the armored column rolled out, Ukrainian early warning radars picked up a large-scale movement. At 5:50 a.m., the data was sent immediately to the command center in Dnipro, where senior officers ordered activation of the Kolmos defensive plan. Mobile units went on full alert, ready to deploy instantly. For North Korea, it was an opportunity to prove combat capability. For Ukraine, it was a spearhead, that had to be completely destroyed. And the ground ahead of the column was the perfect place to do it. This was no ordinary open terrain. For 14 nights straight, under Colonel Andriy Mykolenko of Ukraine's 93rd Mechanized Brigade, combat engineers had turned 3 square kilometers of farmland and rural roads into a complex anti-tank trap. Every step of the process was done in total silence, hidden under layers of straw and disturbed earth to avoid detection by reconnaissance drones. The trap system included over 120 TM-83 anti-tank mines at varying depths, combined with TM-62 pressure mines and M200 remote detonated mines. Instead of covering the whole front with mines, the engineers created concentrated kill zones separated by false, safe corridors to trick the enemy into believing they had found a path. Some sections were rigged with sensitive seismic devices able to detect tank tracks 10 meters away. At strategic points, deeply buried explosive charges were connected with detonating cord, ready to collapse bridges or open craters to block retreat. The exact coordinates of each kill zone were logged in the brigade's fire control system and linked to drone surveillance teams. Once an enemy vehicle entered, data could be transmitted to HQ within seconds, triggering artillery fire or immediate remote detonation. From above, the area looked like empty fields crossed by dirt roads. No open trenches, no visible obstacles, no signs of fortification. Exactly the point. It lured attackers forward, deeper into the trap. In the forward command post, the digital map showed the North Korean column approaching. Lead vehicles were less than 3 kilometers from the first kill zone. Orders went to mine control teams. Switch the system to combat mode. Nobody took their eyes off the screens. Drones showed the convoy moving steadily, 2 kilometers. The lead T-90s held strict formation, their main guns pointed west, ready to fire on contact. Behind them, carriers advanced in pairs, each with over a dozen armed infantrymen. In North Korean internal comms, commanders urged drivers to keep speed and spacing. To them, it was just a routine advance. They didn't know that beneath their tracks lay a network of pressure mines and timed charges. Ukrainian soldiers in observation bunkers sat silently, rifles mounted, eyes fixed through their sights. They would only fire on command, letting the enemy come deeper. Behind them, self-propelled artillery crews had guns elevated, coordinates locked, waiting for the order. In a UAV control station, an operator spotted a group of North Korean suicide drones flying low on the flank, probably searching for radar signals. The order went to electronic warfare teams. Increase jamming, feed them false GPS data. Several drones faltered, veered off, and lost contact. 1 kilometer. In the 93rd Brigade's command bunker, Colonel Mykolenko stood over the detonation controls. He knew the timing had to be perfect. Too early, and the enemy could pull back. Too late, and some could break the line. The column kept moving, tracks grinding the dry earth. The lead T-90 rolled directly over the first pressure mine. A deep blast shook the air. Earth, steel, and smoke shot upward in a thick column. The 20-ton turret flew skyward, spinning before crashing 30 meters away. Within seconds, other mines detonated in sequence. BTRS blew apart. Black smoke rose to the sky. Flames hit fuel drums, sparking secondary explosions. Rear vehicles slammed into those ahead as they braked hard. Others tried to swerve, only to hit secondary kill zones with remote detonated mines. In Ukrainian HQ, officers watched through drones as thermal signatures vanished one by one, replaced by chaotic flares of fires. Colonel Mykolenko gave the order for the first artillery strike, hammering the column's rear to cut off retreat. Shells exploded overhead, raining shrapnel. A fuel truck took a direct hit, erupting violently and wiping out an entire squad. The North Korean formation fractured into small groups. Radio channels filled with overlapping screams and confused orders. Within minutes, over a dozen vehicles were destroyed, others disabled and abandoned. The advance route was now a smoking graveyard of metal. From the flanks, Ukrainian infantry opened fire with light anti-tank weapons and grenade launchers, hitting survivors. The plan had worked, and that was only stage 1. The second blow came quickly. From behind the tree line, T-84 Oplots thundered forward. Behind them, 2 Bohdana S-22 howitzers raised their barrels. In the sky, Bayraktar TB-2 drones appeared in line. each carrying laser-guided missiles. 4 missiles descended, exploding among the rear APCs, engulfing them in fire and smoke. The Oplots opened fire with APFSDS rounds, piercing T-90 armor before they could turn their guns. On the opposite flank, mechanized infantry struck at APCs trying to flee. North Korea launched its remaining suicide drones, more than 10 directly at the Ukrainian counterattack, but short-range air defenses, ZSU-23-4 Shilkas and DSHK heavy machine guns, threw up walls of fire, shredding them mid-air. Ukrainian artillery shifted to attack North Korea's rear logistics line. Ammo trucks, fuel tankers, and mobile comms gear went up in flames. Cut off from supply and communication, the forward units were blind and alone. Ukrainian infantry squads crawled up through drainage ditches, tossing RKG-3 anti-tank grenades into engine compartments. A BMP reversed to escape but hit a remote detonated mine and rolled onto its side. From above, drone footage showed total chaos. Thick smoke plumes, burned tracks, and scattered wreckage covered the road. When Ukrainian armor closed the trap from both sides, the North Korean center was immobilized. Retreat attempts were blocked by craters and BMDS. Artillery kept hammering their rear. Some North Korean soldiers abandoned vehicles, hiding in ruined buildings, but were soon pinned down by Ukrainian snipers with thermal optics. At 7:46 a.m., a recon team found a North Korean command vehicle trapped under rubble. Inside was Colonel Ri Yong-hok, commander of the entire attack, wounded but conscious. His documents contained detailed battle plans, unit rosters, and secure codes. He was evacuated under heavy guard. By 8:12 a.m., the gunfire had died down. Smoke still rose from dozens of charred vehicles. The 2-kilometer stretch of road was a shattered battlefield. Initial tally: 42 vehicles destroyed, 14 abandoned, more than 200 North Korean soldiers killed, wounded, or captured. The entire offensive had been wiped out in under 2 hours. The battle report was sent straight to Ukraine's general staff and allies. Strategically, it wrecked the Russian-North Korean plan. Psychologically, it proved Ukraine could neutralize a large-scale armored assault without committing its entire main defensive force. A photo from the aftermath spread quickly. A Ukrainian soldier handing a bottle of water to a young captured North Korean with minor burns. Without words, just with that gesture, a Ukrainian soldier offering a simple bottle of water to a young North Korean prisoner with a face marked by flames, something beyond any military report was revealed. It was a stark reminder that behind uniforms, rifles, and orders, they were still human beings trapped in a war they hadn't individually chosen. The Battle of September 9, 2025 was not measured only in destroyed tanks, burned-out vehicles, or recaptured positions. Its outcome left a message louder than cannon fire. True strength in war is not measured solely by firepower, troop numbers, or even the most modern armor. Real power comes from patient preparation, the discipline to wait for the exact moment, and the intelligence to turn the ordinary into the strategic. What at first seemed like simple farmland, apparently worthless, became a battlefield capable of deciding the course of an entire offensive. Ukraine had turned those fields into a meticulously designed death trap, proving that even an ordinary space can become decisive when combined with planning and resilience. And when the enemy fell into it, they ended the fight with total control. If you were the commander here, would you have attacked immediately or waited? Leave your answer in the comments. 2 hours were enough to turn an armored offensive into a smoking graveyard of steel. North Korea wanted to show power, but ended up leaving 50 burned-out tanks and hundreds of soldiers out of action. Now, the inevitable question: did Ukraine do the right thing by setting this lethal trap? Or did it cross a dangerous line that could drag half the world into war? Leave your opinion in the comments. Would you have ordered the strike without hesitation or waited for another moment? Your answer opens the debate. If this analysis impacted you, hit like and subscribe, because here, every battle has a story, and the next one could change everything.